Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for joining our webinar on roadmaps in Jira Software. I'm Josh Frank. I do product marketing for Jira Software. We're super pumped about the things we have to share with you today. We have a really awesome team here to walk you through our roadmaps offering. So I'm joined by Matt Lawrence, who's the head of Agile as it Scales, product management. He's thinking about things like as Agile teams start to bump up against issues of scale, what solutions can we put in place to help teams effectively scale up their Agile practices? We're also joined by Erica Saw, who's been a product manager on our roadmaps offering for the last several years, and Reese Christian, a longtime Atlassian product manager who's focused on our advanced roadmaps offering. But before we get into the details, a little bit of housekeeping to start things off. First, we hope everyone is doing well and staying safe out there. Like many of you, we are totally remote today. Usually we all get in a room and deliver this for you, so if you hear any babies crying or slightly different sound levels throughout the presentation, please bear with us. The presentation will be relatively short today, around 30 minutes. We'll be doing a live Q&A after the presentation, so if you want to ask any questions, you can go ahead and ask them in the console. We have a team here who will be responding the best they can as questions come in, and we'll try and answer as many of the questions as we can after the presentation. Second, we have a ton of helpful resources and links to other stuff you might be interested in the console. There's a couple other Jira webinars that could be helpful, and we have a community post on how to get started with advanced roadmaps if you're interested. Lastly, we'll be talking about some forward-looking stuff today. So as always, some of that is subject to change. That said, as many of you have seen, we just released advanced roadmaps as part of Jira Software Premium a couple days ago. We hope that looks exciting to many of you. Whether you're new to Jira or you're an existing Jira customer, you can start a free trial of advanced roadmaps by starting a Jira Software Premium trial. And we'll get into that a little bit more towards the end of the presentation. So I'll do a quick walkthrough of the agenda. Matt is going to talk about our vision for how we're building multiple road mapping solutions to help you solve different problems at all levels of your organization. Erica's going to do an overview and demo of our roadmaps offering, which will be really helpful for individual teams looking to better plan and track their work. Reese is going to walk through our advanced roadmaps offering, designed to help single teams or multiple teams plan smarter on larger pieces of work. Then Matt is going to do a quick review before handing it back to me for a wrap-up and live Q&A. Cool. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to Matt.
Thanks, Josh. G'day, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Before we go into the demos, I'd like to share some context that will help explain our vision for roadmaps within Jira. Today, Jira Software is the industry standard for agile software teams to plan and track their work. Beyond software engineers, Jira Software is now a home for product managers, project managers, quality assurance engineers, and the professionals who work with them in IT, marketing, human resources, finance, and much more. As teams use Jira Software for larger and more complex projects, they encounter new challenges. They need to be able to visualize their roadmap and share it with stakeholders. They need to be able to track and manage dependencies between issues, teams, and projects. And they need to be able to do forward planning, often requiring sophisticated capacity forecasting. These are common challenges for all Atlassian customers. Interestingly, we've seen that scale changes the nature of these common challenges. This is best illustrated with a specific example, managing dependencies. Managing dependencies between issues for a single team in a small organization is a very different problem to managing thousands of dependencies between many teams across multiple projects located in different time zones. For a single team, you would expect to be able to visualize all of your dependencies neatly on a single roadmap. In this case, it would be visually attractive and easiest to understand if dependencies were marked by lines linking issues on the roadmap. However, in the case where dependencies link to issues outside the roadmap view, or where there are hundreds of dependencies, this solution becomes unreadable. In this case, it might be more useful to visualize dependencies more abstractly, with detail available for further investigation via a pop-up. As a result, we realize that we need different solutions for different scales, from an individual team all the way up to the world's largest organizations. The way to think about this is that we're building a ladder for agile planning, with a roadmap solution tailored to the needs of every team. So Atlassian will provide a roadmap tool for every team at every level of your organization, whether you use free, standard, or premium. At the start of the ladder, we have roadmaps, which helps a single team visualize their roadmap and manage their internal planning. At the next level, we have advanced roadmaps, which helps many teams across multiple projects visualize a more complex roadmap, manage many dependencies, and capacity planning for several teams. At the top of the ladder is a whole of enterprise solution, Jira Align. Each step of the ladder is easy to adopt because it only includes as much as you need and helps set you up for effective planning at the next layer of scale and complexity. Today we'll be seeing demos of roadmaps and advanced roadmaps. First I'll hand over to Erica to demo roadmaps and then to Reese to demo advanced roadmaps.
Thanks, Matt. Hi, everyone. My name is Erica. I'm a product manager working on the roadmaps experience in Jira Software. Thanks so much for joining us today. Now, let me start with a little bit of a history on this roadmaps offering. We launched this roadmap over a year ago in October of 2018. It was just a simple offering at the time to let you quickly plan a big picture overview of what your team is working on today and what's happening next. And as I recall, for many of you, it was love at first sight. We've gotten some delightful tweet shoutouts like this, which really made my day. And we've also gotten some excellent feedbacks from many of you who started using the roadmaps actively. Now, this made my job super easy as a product manager because you basically told us what you wanted, and so we invested a ton into this roadmap to build it into this. And I'm excited to walk through the improvements we've made one by one with you. First, we've added the ability for you to break down epics into child issues like this on the roadmap, right in context. Epics are also expandable, so anyone can see all the issues laddering up to that epic and also who's working on them and how they're going. We've also made it easy for you to understand how things are progressing by introducing the ability to visualize progress right on the roadmap. You can simply click on View Settings in the top right corner and click Progress from the options, which will add this easy progress bar to each of your epics to show how much is currently in to do, progress, and done. Now you can understand your team's progress at a glance, which will help you to react quickly if something is not making enough progress, and also to plan realistically with team's progress in mind. Now, speaking of realistic planning, a good planner knows the importance of managing and tracking dependencies between different pieces of work. So now, by clicking dependencies in the same view setting, you can also visualize critical dependencies between epics right on the roadmap. Now, to create a dependency like this, simply drag from one epic and drop it into another. Here you see that the third-party service piece of work is dependent on next-gen front-end work. This will create a blocked issue link between those two epics like this. And on this roadmap, you can also see that we've highlighted risky dependencies in red, like what you see between the user management epic and savings calculator epic. You can immediately tell that savings calculator's work needs to be delayed because user management epic that it depends on has not been completed yet. So with dependencies visualized like this on your roadmap, you can now stay ahead of blockers or dependencies before they become an issue. Now, as the number of your epics grow on this roadmap, it becomes important to visually distinguish which pieces fit together as a group. Whether it's for different initiatives, goals, types of work, or priority, it's really up for you and your team to decide which grouping matters the most. And whichever it is, you can use epic colors to visually group those epics. Now, initially, this roadmap only had 6 colors to choose from, but you've told us that that's not enough. So we've added not just 1, but 8 more colors to the mix. And now you have 14 colors in your palette to organize your roadmaps with beautiful shades of rainbow. Now, if you're ready to share this beautiful roadmap you've created, simply click the Export button to create a PNG file to insert it into the medium of your choice, whether it's your slide deck, email, or a Google Docs page. But if you're using Confluence to do this, get excited. Because we've also introduced the Roadmaps Confluence macro. No more manual copying and pasting of your roadmap. Once you've embedded the roadmap, anyone on your Confluence page will be seeing the latest updates without ever having to go into Jira themselves, because the updates come through in real time. Let me show you how easy this is in action. So you see I just dropped the roadmaps link in the Confluence page and published it. And once it's loaded, I can filter it to the view I want and even just engage directly with the roadmap, all the while I'm in Confluence. So now that I've shared so many enhancements with you, you might be maybe wondering what's next. Well, what's next is we're bringing this awesome roadmaps capability into classic projects. We wanted to make sure that you get the value out of the roadmaps experience, whichever project you're using, classic or next gen. And as you can see here, we've brought the next gen roadmaps into classic projects just as you know and love it. While this work is currently in closed beta, we assure you it will be available for everyone in the next coming months. We're just working out some kinks to make sure that you get the best experience possible. Now, this roadmap is perfect for planning and sharing your team's work, but we know some of you working with multiple teams and projects have more sophisticated needs. Now, it's a conversation of its own when you're managing schedules and capacities across several teams and projects. So, for those of you wrangling with roadmaps for multiple teams, I'm excited to hand things off to Reese to talk about our advanced roadmaps offering.
Thanks, Erica. Hi, my name is Reese Christian, and I'm a product manager on Advanced Roadmaps. I've been working on Atlassian's road mapping solutions for a few years now, so I'm proud to introduce you to the new Advanced Roadmaps solution for cloud. In this session, I'll be providing a bit of context around the value that Advanced Roadmaps offers and demonstrate the functionality in action. With this new interface, we've taken the best of our product formerly known as Portfolio for Jira and rebuilt it from the ground up. This is a complete refresh in Jira Cloud. Plan owners are able to easily visualize their roadmap and plan in context of other teams' plans. Information serviced by the tool give you the in-the-moment insights that enable informed decision-making during planning. With teams' ability to effectively plan their roadmaps, it provides much-needed visibility to plan stakeholders who need a broader overview across projects in order to coordinate with them, as well as understand progress and status across teams. Ultimately, the value of advanced roadmaps is to plan big pieces of work smarter. It achieves this through a number of features. Firstly, the ability to coordinate multiple teams in an interface built for large-scale scope of work. With capacity planning, you're able to gauge the feasibility of your plan, whether it's the upcoming sprints or rough long-term plan. By enabling teams to plan, stakeholders can now get better informed visibility over projects. Dependencies within teams or external can be highlighted, planned, and mitigated to avoid sudden surprises from derailing work. Scenario planning allows you to maintain different renditions of your plan, so you can consider impact of possible what-if circumstances you may anticipate. All this value is achieved through the following core use cases. First is the ability to plan work for multiple teams in a single context. Issues from any hierarchy level can be scheduled so that you can plan bottom-up, top-down, or a mix of both. With Advanced Roadmaps' ability to set up multiple levels of additional hierarchy, you can also set up initiatives to represent high-level work across different teams and projects. The name for issues at the initiative hierarchy level is flexible. In our team, we call them legends. Simply drag and drop issues to schedule them. As you can see, as I input dates, it's rolling up to the parent issues dates as I input. When planning into an uncertain future, set a single date to represent uncertainty of when an issue will start or finish. In this example, we know when an issue is due to be complete, but we're uncertain about when the work will need to start. But this isn't just drawing boxes on the screen. Advanced Roadmaps uses your data to provide insights and warnings on how you've scheduled your plan. Firstly, Advanced Roadmaps will help you verify whether the scope you've planned is feasible with your team's velocities. Capacity planning functionality is accessed by grouping issues by team and enabling the capacity view. Capacity is visualized for each team swim lane on a per iteration basis. Capacity for upcoming sprints is calculated from the issues assigned to the team and scheduled in sprints associated to the team. For this Scrum team, you can see that one of the sprints is overbooked. Clicking the sprint serves as more information to help decide how to resolve this. I'll focus on the short term by selecting the 3-month timeline range, and I'll just look at the story level issues. I can clearly see that the next sprint is underutilized, so I can simply balance out the workload across sprints to more effectively allocate work and prevent my team from being overbooked. For long-term planning, I can schedule rough, unbroken down epics on a timeline to represent future roadmapped features. Providing this issue with a high-level best guess estimate, I can gauge feasibility of an approximate plan based on the current understanding of the scope. Dependencies are another important aspect of the plan that need to be considered, whether they're within your team or external. Dependencies can result in bottlenecks, inefficient development, and nasty surprises if you're not planning ahead for them. Advanced roadmaps indicates dependencies exist via badges visible on either side of an issue. A badge at the start indicates that the issue is being blocked by another issue. At the end means the issue is blocking another issue. As you plan your roadmap, you do it in context of these dependency badges. If they turn red, it means there's a conflict or an overlap between relevant issues. Also, as conditions change over time and teams adapt their plans, resulting conflicts with dependencies are flagged early. Using filters allows you to focus in on dependencies, useful for collaborating during team rituals. Use it to show all dependencies in the plan that has a dependency relationship. Expanding the scope to show all stories with dependencies, we can see there is a story with 2 blockers. It's red, so at least one of the blocking issues is causing a conflict. Clicking on the badge reveals a flyout with important details: what the other issue is, the status of it, who it's assigned to, and the lead time. A negative or red lead time indicates overlapping conflict between dates of dependent issues. Generally, it's safe to plan with a small amount of lead time buffer between dependencies. Both blocking issues are overlapping. We can filter for this issue's dependencies so we can isolate them. In the filters dropdown, you also have the option to show the entire chain of dependencies. So you can determine if this issue gets delayed, how many other issues are affected down the line. It enables teams to have a conversation around the impact of the risk and figure out how to resolve it. In this simple case, moving the story to the next sprint is an easy fix. The next core functionality is around releases. Releases define a set scope of work that need to be delivered at a particular release date. They map to fixed versions in Jira. For some teams, this relates to version delivery, while others may use it to define critical milestones. After creating a release and defining the date constraints, you can assign issues to it from either the Advanced Roadmaps interface or within Jira. As you plan, you schedule your issues in the context of your release dates. If any of the work goes beyond the release date, then the plan will flag the release is off track by a certain amount of days. As you plan in context of capacity, dependencies, and release constraints, you have the information you need to help make planning decisions. You can make changes and assess the impact while you plan. Here you can decide whether you'll delay the release if your scope cannot be changed, de-scope the release in order to release on time but with fewer features, or increase the velocity of a team by sourcing more team members to help out if this is an option for you. In the Release tab, you can view a summary of all releases in your plan. You can see the status, progress, or dates of your releases. In this interface, you can also edit the release dates. Here we'll delay the release so we can bring it back on track. You can also define cross-project releases. Cross-project release is a planned feature that allows you to align releases across multiple projects. So when you have an iOS 1.0 release and an Android 1.0 release that both need to be released together, you can use cross-project releases to group them and keep them aligned. So that's the basics around the main functionality to enable smarter planning. I'll now showcase some key elements around managing your plan and data with advanced roadmaps. The intuitive UI gives easy access to a large scope, nested within hierarchy. Great for planners and consumers at all levels. In a single view, you can get an understanding of progress and status of an entire initiative, as well as drill into the details at a granular execution level. When dealing with a large backlog or multiple large backlogs within a plan, it's essential to be able to quickly and efficiently manage issues at scale. This fields section provides flexible management of issues so you can quickly make updates to your issue data in a tabular interface. Fields can be added and removed to this section depending on your needs. Most relevant Jira fields and custom field types are supported, with further custom field support on our roadmap. With informative data rollup, you're able to see an aggregate of certain fields serviced to higher levels of hierarchy. For example, clearly see the sum of all story points from child issues when looking at the parent epic to get a sense of total effort needed to complete that work. This will also roll up to the initiative level to see the total effort of all associated epics and stories. When managing a large backlog, you're often applying the same value across many issues at a time. With the ability to perform bulk actions, you can quickly input data to a large set of issues. For example, bulk move epics to a new initiative, bulk assign a team to a set scope of work, or bulk assign dates to work that will be executed in parallel. To add new scope, you can simply do this from the Create Issue button at the top for any hierarchy level, for any project, or any issue type. Alternatively, you can also create a new issue in line. With this, you can quickly create a new sibling issue slotted in the rank below the selected one, or create a child issue to be nested within the selected one. A set of useful filtering options allow you to isolate your plan by specific variables set on your issues. We currently have a wide set of filters available to help you sift through the data in your plan. And a variety of view settings allow you to visualize your plan through different lenses and call out important data. You can group issues into swim lanes, or color them to quickly understand certain details at a glance. In this example, we're coloring issues via label, but we can also use it to provide simple visibility of status, team, or define our own coloring scheme using custom fields. This can be particularly useful for highlighting roadmap items under specific high-level objectives or organizational themes that cut across hierarchy. With the plan configured how you want to visualize it and filtered with the scope of issues you want to show, you can share that specific view to others using a couple of share settings. Share your plan as a link or embedded iframe, and the recipient will see the view as you intended them to see it upon clicking the share button. Using our multi-scenario feature, you can persist multiple versions of the same plan under different circumstances. In this example, we have a bad case scenario to answer, what would the impact be if we lost a team member in both teams? In this rendition of the plan, I can verify how much this scenario would delay our targeted milestones. Lastly, it's important to recognize that Advanced Roadmaps has a sandbox data model, meaning the changes I make in a plan don't immediately save to Jira. I can decide what changes to save and when. You can plan in a sandbox without concern of messing with other people's data, and when you're ready to save the changes, you can do it from the Review Changes button. In this modal, you can see what data has changed, what it changed from or to, who made that change, and when. Select which issues you want to action, then either save them or discard them to revert them to their original values. That concludes the functionality I'm presenting today, but there's more value to unlock when using advanced roadmaps. There are also a lot more features coming on the horizon. The ability to save and switch between different view configurations. This includes applied filters, visible fields, hierarchy, colors, and more. Basically the views of the plan and data that you regularly use, so you can quickly switch between them. There are also more ways of sharing the plan on the way. This will include a Confluence macro so you can share a dynamic plan on a Confluence page. Additionally, we're working on 2 forms of exporting, to CSV, which will enable a wide range of reports through spreadsheeting tools, and PNG to generate a snapshot image of the plan that can be easily reported to stakeholders. We're working on improvements for planning capacity, particularly the ability to input anticipated fluctuations of team velocities over time. For example, when you know that half the team will be on vacation and know how that will shape the team's velocity, you can forecast that ahead of time. And also the improvement to rollup data is on the way, which will include rollup dates, so high-level hierarchy timelines can reflect the minimum and maximum of dates coming from its children. So that's all for today on the topic of advanced roadmaps. Thank you for your time. I'll now hand it back to Matt, who will share a vision of planning with Atlassian.
Thanks, Reese and Erica. I'd like to do a quick recap and share some of our vision for the near future. Erica demoed how roadmaps helps a team plan their work. We've made roadmaps easy to adopt and, dare I say, even fun to use. Roadmaps was really designed to help product managers, team leads, and the people working within a team to plan, visualize, and communicate their work. Reese demoed how Advanced Roadmaps helps many teams across multiple projects plan their work. Advanced Roadmaps was designed with the primary goal of supporting scale and complexity. So while Advanced Roadmaps can also be used by people at the team level, it has additional capabilities focused on people concerned with cross-team and cross-project planning. This could be engineering managers, product leadership, project or portfolio managers. I'm really proud of what we've done so far, but we're going to continue to enrich both of these solutions with new capabilities. Also, what you may have noticed during these demos is some differences in the way roadmaps and advanced roadmaps work. This is because roadmaps and advanced roadmaps were designed with different goals in mind. We will harmonize these differences between roadmaps and advanced roadmaps to make it easier to move between both solutions. Whether that's because you've been using roadmaps and decided you need the extra power of advanced roadmaps, or because you have people using both roadmaps and advanced roadmaps side by side. Finally, advanced roadmaps will work seamlessly with Jira Align, so that when you're ready to move your whole company to Atlassian's planning tools, the transition will be easy. Our vision is to provide you with a seamless ladder of capabilities to support agile planning at every scale for every team. Since all of these planning tools use Jira software as their source of truth, we've removed the gap between planning and actual work. That means that planning will be faster, simpler, and more realistic. With that, I'll hand back to Josh to wrap things up.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick wrap up before we move on to live Q&A. As a reminder, the Roadmaps feature is available today via Next-Gen projects, and it's coming soon to Classic projects. Also, as I mentioned earlier in the call, we just released Advanced Roadmaps a couple days ago to the public. It's available to try for free as part of Jira Software Premium today. If you're an existing Jira customer, you can try it out 1 month for free. Advanced Roadmaps is only available for Classic projects today. If you're an existing customer, the way that you start a Jira Software Premium trial is by clicking into your settings, then going into your billing section, and then clicking into Manage Subscriptions, and then changing your plan. When you do this, you're starting a trial and you can opt out at any time over the course of the trial. So again, we're super excited about both roadmaps and advanced roadmaps and hope you will be too. And as we mentioned, Advanced Roadmaps comes as part of Jira Software Premium, which includes dozens of other features. Some of those features include global and multi-project automation, so you can build automations at scale, which can save lots of time for you and the people on your team. Project archiving, so you can archive projects and their underlying issues that are no longer relevant, but that you may not necessarily want to delete. This can be really helpful for keeping your instance 100% up to date. Admin Insights are special reports just for administrators. For example, you can see how many active users are logging into your Jira instance every day, so you can better plan ahead. We're also going to give you a cloud sandbox as part of Jira Software Cloud Premium, so you can test changes like new automation rules and new apps before putting them into production on your instance. And I won't go through all the features listed here, but there's several other awesome foundational features that can be helpful for scaling the way you work and providing your site extra security. So with that, I'm going to open it up for Q&A.
Awesome. Okay, we have some really great questions coming in from folks. Thank you so much for all the questions. Let me just pull up a couple of them. So the first question I'm going to ask is a really good fit for Matt. So the question is why doesn't Advanced Roadmap support next-gen projects, and will it support next-gen projects?
Okay, thank you. Look, we know a lot of you have adopted next-gen projects with smaller and more independent teams, and that's really what next-gen was aimed at. Our next-gen projects already has roadmaps, so we're definitely committed to enriching the planning capabilities in next-gen. Having said that, like Advanced Roadmaps was actually built on Portfolio for Jira, which was originally a classic app. So pragmatically speaking, it was a lot faster for us to ship that just supporting classic projects initially. So we're currently exploring how Advanced Roadmaps should support next-gen projects, but obviously I can't commit to a timeline about when we'll be able to ship that.
Awesome. Thanks for answering that, Matt. Great question here for Erica, which is when exactly will the next-gen roadmap come to classic projects? And a follow-up question, I think a lot of folks have asked this question, is how can I be a part of the roadmaps beta?
Yeah, excellent questions. So like I mentioned, yes, Roadmap in Classic is currently in private beta, and there are a few things that we're ironing out. So I can't really promise a certain date yet, but I can assure you to everyone that we'll be rolling it out in the next couple of months. And unfortunately, the sign up for the beta has now closed, but like I said, like everyone should have it in a couple of months. So I hope that answered your question.
Awesome. Okay, really good question here for Reese, which is how is Advanced Roadmaps different than Portfolio for Jira Cloud?
That is a good question. The major difference really is that the control you have over the road mapping. So this is a huge product refresh, and we've completely changed the way that the model of using the tool. So Portfolio for Jira relied on a scheduling algorithm where it generated a schedule based on the data that you had. And so if you wanted to make any changes to the schedule that got generated, you have to play around with the data in order to generate the schedule closer to how you wanted it and recalculate. Advanced Roadmaps works basically oppositely. You have full control over the roadmap, and you can schedule the roadmap that you have in mind, and the tool will look at your roadmap and look at your data and give you insights or warnings based on that to tell you whether it's feasible or whether you have any conflicts. So that is the main difference, having that flexibility and control.
Awesome. Thank you, Reese. Another really good question from Matt is how do I know if I should upgrade to Advanced Roadmaps and Jira Software Premium?
Oh, well, I guess that depends a lot on the needs of your organization. So probably best talking about our edition strategy a bit there. So we have a standard and a premium and an enterprise layer as well too. And the intent there is to let you choose what capabilities you want to pay for and what capabilities you need. The more capabilities we give to you, obviously, the more complexity there is in adopting and using those capabilities. The Advanced Roadmaps is part of our premium edition, and that's really designed for cross-team planning. So instead of you'll be able to support like multiple roadmaps, you'll be able to see dependency mapping at massive scale, capacity planning, and the place where you plan your epics is in a sandbox environment. So you don't have to automatically commit all of those changes back to Jira. So you can do a lot of what-if scenarios without sort of annoying hundreds and hundreds of teams simultaneously while you're doing it. So yeah, the short version is it really depends on your needs.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Great question here for Reese about Advanced Roadmaps is why do you look at team capacity rather than individual capacity? Is individual capacity on the roadmap?
So that's another really good question. So what we initially implemented was generalized capacity across the entire team. So with this, you're able to understand what the team's velocities are and enables cross-team planning across sprints. And it allows you to project your work into the long term. We have features coming up soon which will help it go a bit deeper into that. So so we'll be working on being able to fluctuate the velocity of upcoming planned sprints so that you can anticipate any team members that may have different availabilities or team members who will be joining or leaving the team. But we are interested in providing better management of resources. So we're looking at the right approach, and we'll be listening closely for feedback around the needs for individual capacity.
Cool. Thanks for answering that one, Reese. Good one for Erica here, which is, will there be any experience differences between roadmaps and classic projects and next-gen projects?
The first experience that you'll get, like I mentioned, in a couple of months is going to be pretty much the same next-gen experience that you've all known and love. And we'll be exploring in the future if there's additional capabilities to introduce to cater for the power of classic projects.
Cool. Thanks, Erica. Matt, a great question here, which is, does Atlassian use advanced roadmaps internally for software development planning?
Yeah, we absolutely do. We try to use all of our products religiously internally, but we have entire divisions of the company that run exclusively on advanced roadmaps as the planning tool. So we use that for all of our forward planning. We use that for reporting. We use it for roadmap reviews. So yeah, all of these products are used very heavily internally.
Another good one from Matt, which is it possible to use roadmaps and advanced roadmaps together?
Absolutely. So once we launch roadmaps for classic projects, you'll be able to plan an issue in your roadmap for your team and see the corresponding issue in advanced roadmaps when a plan is set up to cover the same board or project. What you will notice if you run them side by side, though, is that there are a couple of differences in the experiences, the way, say, the roadmap view works. So over the coming year, we're going to be working to ensure there's a more consistent experience between both of those capabilities. So, but absolutely, they're designed to solve slightly different problems. Roadmaps is designed to work for a single team, optimized for that experience. So it's much easier to use, it's much easier to get up and running. And advanced roadmaps has those more advanced capabilities, as I said before. So if you want to use them together because teams have different needs, then yeah, strongly encourage you to do so.
Awesome. Okay, another great question for Erica here, which is, I'm really interested in the team level roadmap. How do I know if I should be using Jira Software Classic or Next Gen Project?
Right. So I believe there are a lot of resources out there to help you make this decision, but to sum it up, basically Next Gen is the way we designed it is optimized for autonomous teams, and we made it super easy to use. And the classic projects, the experience that most of you guys are familiar with, is more designed for scale and control. And so either way you go with, there's going to be some level of trade-offs. And our recommendation is that you consider the needs of your teams to make this decision.
Awesome. Reese, great question here for you, which is that, are there any limitations with how big an advanced roadmap can be?
Yeah, so there are limitations for how many issues can be generally stored in a plan. And so this is something that has multiple contributing factors. One can be your query complexity of the plan, like how you bring the issues into your plan. Is that a very complex JQL query? It depends on the instance data, such as your custom fields, and as well as concurrent usage on the Jira instance. But generally, we recommend having plans limited to around 5,000 issues, just for performance reasons. Now, we have functionality that keeps that number low, such as removing completed issues after a certain date. That can be configurable. But we're also exploring strategies to increase these limits going forward.
Awesome. Thanks, Reese. Another question about advanced roadmaps here, which is, you mentioned there will be enhancements on how to share your advanced roadmap in the future. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, so there are 3 features that we're working on that are in the realm of being able to share and report your advanced roadmap. The first one is a native Confluence macro. So while we have link and embed is an option to share your plan, a native Confluence macro will allow you will be a much better experience for putting your plan onto a Confluence page, making that a single source of truth. You could have a page that is referencing your project, and you can have it as your plan as a summary at the top of that page. Really useful for keeping stakeholders informed. The next feature we're working on is CSV export. So this will enable using advanced roadmap data and exporting that as a spreadsheet so that it can be used or as comma separated values, which can be used in the spreadsheet, such as there's countless other spreadsheeting tools that you can use to generate reports, unlimited flexibility of reports, basically, of your data. And then the last one is saved views. So this will allow you to configure and save and switch between multiple view setups of your plan. So this includes your filters, your coloring, your fields that are your viewing hierarchy range. Everything about the view that you intend your audience to see can be saved as a view, so that you can anyone can visit your plan and switch between these saved views to see the important views that you want them to see. or you'll be able to link them to that specific view. And that can be great for getting people into the same view for collaboration.
Thanks, Reese. Matt Lawrence, we got a great question for you here, which is, you mentioned Jira Align is for moving your entire enterprise to an Atlassian planning solution. What is Jira Align, and how do I know when I should be considering it?
Oh, great question. We saw that a few times in the Q&A about how do I know when to use Advanced Roadmaps versus Jira Align. There's quite a lot of difference between Jira Align and Advanced Roadmaps. So Advanced Roadmaps and Roadmaps both are primarily planning tools, and they're both built natively within Jira Software. Jira Align is a standalone application. It's tightly integrated with Jira Software, and Jira Align is much more than a planning tool. It's really designed for connecting your whole business strategy to technical execution. So what that means is, we can aggregate team level data across the whole organization and get a high level view, which is often really useful for the C-suite executive. And also lets you see how you connect strategic investments with the customer value. So it's an end-to-end way of analyzing how your software development and technical effort aligns with your business outcomes. So it's also the only platform that lets you implement and extend any scaled framework. So safe or whatever. And you can also build your own hybrid and custom frameworks on top of it as well. So Jira Align is a very, very complex beast. I think it's worth investigating separately to Advanced Roadmaps. And Advanced Roadmaps is really about how you have more powerful planning capabilities when you're working inside Jira Software.
Awesome. On a similar note, someone asked a question: how do you see the development of roadmap features, particularly targeted at an enterprise scale, being affected by the acquisition of AgileCraft, now Jira Align?
Yeah, I mean, broadly speaking, having Jira Align and Advanced Roadmaps just shows that we're really committed to investing more research and development in this area broadly. We will continue to invest in Advanced Roadmaps, including building enterprise capabilities into Jira Software. And then Jira Align really solves that separate problem of how you track strategic investments and tracking business outcomes.
Thanks, Matt. Great one. Just really simple question for Reese, which is, how do you navigate to the Advanced Roadmaps in Jira Software Cloud?
So it should be in your main menu of interfaces. So where you've got your work, dashboards, projects, filters, people, there should be an option there called plans, and it's got a little icon that looks like a couple of roadmap items. So that's how you would access the Advanced Roadmaps features. So it's not under Advanced Roadmaps or anything. It's under plans when you're looking inside the tool.
A couple more for you here, Reese. One is Advanced Roadmaps only for Scrum boards, or does it work with Kanban as well?
So Advanced Roadmaps can use both Scrum boards or Kanban boards as the issue source. And that's a distinct option from when you're setting up your teams. You'll be able to define whether that team is a Kanban team or a Scrum team. So theoretically, you could even set up a Kanban team with a Kanban board with a Scrum team. But yeah, you have that flexibility to do that.
Cool. Another question here. What are the requirements? This one's good for you, Reese. What are the requirements at the story and task level to get the most out of capacity planning?
So the main requirement I would recommend is sourcing those stories and tasks from a board and making sure that the board is where the sprints are stored. And this is particularly when you're using a Scrum team. In order to source the sprint information to the plan, it does need to use a board as the issue source. And so long as those stories and tasks are estimated, they're assigned to the team, they're scheduled into sprints, we should be able to get a good calculation of your upcoming sprint capacity. And that's at the story task level. Longer term, you would more looking at high level epics with rough estimates for the longer term uncertain future, but the short term, they should be estimated.
Thanks, Reese. Matt Lawrence, so I'm going to start wrapping it up with this last question. A really kind of basic question here, just about server versus cloud, which is, in cloud, will Advanced Roadmaps update automatically?
Yes.
Okay, closing it off with a very simple answer, which is that in cloud, stuff updates automatically. So, there's a ton of questions coming in. if we didn't answer your specific question on the live Q&A, I'm going to assemble a lot of the questions in, I'm going to look at the top questions and I will get answers to all of them, and we will post them to our community and send them out along with the recording of this webinar. So again, thank you so much to everyone who joined us. Thanks to the speakers. And we hope y'all enjoy the roadmaps and advanced roadmaps features that are available to you today. Thanks again.